Adding and subtracting decimals. Please take a minute to pause the video and review the 5 easy steps for adding and subtracting with decimals. Now let's try some example problems using those 5 easy steps with some addition problems. The first one we have is 72 plus 52.413. According to my very first step, when I set up the problem, I have to line up the decimals first. Well, 72, I don't see a decimal, which means there's a decimal hiding at the end because that's a 72 whole number. 72 is a whole number. So I'm adding 72 with 52 and 413 thousandths. Okay, and now my next step is if all the numbers in the problems don't go into the same place value, if I don't have numbers here to match up with the 413 that I'm adding in the 52.413, then I need to put zeros there as placeholders. And I'm not changing the value of that number. Those zeros are just placeholders. My next step is to bring the decimal straight down into my answer. And now I can add as usual, starting on the far right. So I'll do 0 plus 3, which is 3, 0 plus 1, which is 1, 0 plus 4, which is 4, 2 plus 2, which is 4, and then 7 plus 5, which is 12. So my answer here is 124 and 413 thousandths. Let's try it with another problem. Now, in this problem, I actually have 3 numbers I'm adding, but I'm not going to do anything different really. I'm still going to line them up, line the decimals up, so 14 and 725 thousandths, 6 and 18 hundredths, and 29 and 3 tenths. Now, what I'm going to do, remember, is that if all the numbers in the problems don't have digits in all of the place values, I can go ahead and put those zeros at the end. So with my 6.18, I'm going to add a 0 at the end, and then with my 29 and 3 tenths, I'll add 2 zeros. That way, each of those numbers have 3 digits after the decimal, and it's easier to add. Before I add, I need to make sure I drop that decimal down into my answer, and now I can go. So 5 plus 0 plus 0 is 5. 2 plus 8 plus 0 is 10. 7 plus 1 plus 3 plus the one that I carried over is 12. 1 plus 4 plus 6 plus 9 is going to give me 20. And then 2 plus 1 plus 2 gives me 5. So my answer to this one right here is 50 and 205 thousandths. Let's try some subtraction problems. Now, the same rules apply, so when I'm doing my subtraction problem, when I'm setting it up, I want to line up the decimals. So 291 and 63 hundredths minus 154. And I don't have any digits after my decimal in 154, so I'm going to go ahead and add zeros as placeholders. And now I just subtract as usual. I almost forgot one step. I need to drop that decimal down into my answer. That's really important. So drop the decimal down into my answer. Now I can subtract. 3 minus 0 is 3. 6 minus 0 is 6. 1 minus 4, I would have to steal from this over here. So now I have 11 minus 4 is 7. 8 minus 5 is 3. And then 2 minus 1 is 1. So my answer to 291 and 63 hundredths minus 154 is 137 and 63 hundredths. Let's try one more Now this one looks a little different from the other ones. It has words instead of symbols. It says subtract 245 and 7/100 from 302. Well, according to the steps in my 5 simple steps to add and subtract decimals, I need to line up the decimals. And because I'm subtracting, the larger number needs to go on top when I set up the problem. In this case, the larger number is the one mentioned second, 302. So I'm doing 302 minus 245 and 7/100. There we go. So I'm lining up my decimals, adding zeros as placeholders, and now I can subtract as usual. This is going to involve some borrowing because 0 minus 7, not possible. So, I'm going to have to do some borrowing. Okay, so now I can do 10 minus 7 is 3. 9 minus 0 is 9, and I realized I did a bad thing. I forgot that decimal when I started my problem, so we want to make sure that we always drop down that decimal first. All right, so let's see. 1 minus 5, not possible. I'm going to have to borrow again. 11 minus 5 is 6. 9 minus 4 is 5. And 2 minus 2 is 0. So the answer I get when I subtract 245 and 7/100 from 302 is 56 and 93/100.